Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: people who had no sex education at all and had never ever seen the opposite sex's special parts. How do you know how sex worked, if you did at all, and which parts were supposed to go where? How did your first time go? Farm kids learn it by example unless exceptionally dense. I remember my little sister asking why the bull kept trying to jump over the cows. Farm guy here. My boys knew all about sex and reproduction by age 6. It's unavoidable. Critters gonna critter when and wherever they want. I remember one day I was at Grandpa's farm. And I asked him about sex. He sort of smiled and said, "Maybe instead of telling you what sex is, why don't we go out to the horse pasture and I'll show you." So we did, and there on the ground were my parents having sex. Jack Hady. Critters gonna critter is the best thing I've read all day. Farm kid here. I was about 5 when my aunt caught me trying to bury a live cat in the cornfield. I was gonna have me some kittens. I still find my reasoning was sound for my 5-year-old farmer's mind. Because the dish ran away with the spoon. Same here. There's this ongoing joke in our family about how my cousin found double frogs. When I was little I saw a frog giving another frog a piggyback ride. An interesting story from history. Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI had a notoriously difficult time conceiving a child. They were married for years before it happened, even though both were seemingly fertile. There are a variety of theories as to why, but one is that they just didn't know what to do. As the story goes, Marie Antoinette's brother finally gave Louis the talk and they were able to conceive. "Brother, stop fucking my sister in the ass, thanks. Marie Antoinette can have a little anal sex though, as a treat." Following on poor Louis' XVI word is his inexperience was coupled with being generally asexual, sex wasn't interesting, and painful phimosis, a tight foreskin that won't tear open, but is pure pain during erection/intercourse. He preferred hunting over fucking. With a dick like that, who wouldn't? I remember learning from porn that the testicles do not actually go in the vagina. Just glad I got that little TI bit sorted out before my big moment. It's a good thing you didn't watch Nuts in the Ass. Mental note for later. I had only seen sex on TV. And of course on TV they never show them actually having sex, so I thought people just viciously tore their clothes off and then lay in bed naked. Haha, same. But I had little brothers, so I knew what a penis looks like, except not when it's on a fully grown man. So I thought that a penis was always very small and soft, and that it mushed up against the outside of the vagina. I never dreamt it actually went in. Until I accidentally saw porn on a public computer at an internet cafe from a previous user. Edit, for those of you wanting to know why I saw my little brother's penises. Haven't you had to change a sibling's diaper before? Or they clearly never seen the little fucker run away from the shower with nothing on. For those of you wanting to know why I saw my little brother's penises. I'm more concerned about the dude watching porn at an internet cafe. Serious reply. I figured it out while shopping for hose connectors at Lowe's with Dad when I was maybe 10. I knew little more than boys have a penis, girls have a vagina la kindergarten cop. Male and female pieces. The male end goes into the female end. My inner voice goes, why do they call them male and female? Oh. That makes sense. Are you 11 now? Because that totally happened to me last year while helping a customer. Both the dad and I got a good laugh out of it. I'm just glad he didn't ask why 2 males together make a nipple. This was many moons ago, but the mental image is clear as day. How did the boy react in your story? Was he embarrassed, or giggly, or? When I was 16, I was lucky enough to have a girlfriend as inexperienced as I was. All we knew was that we wanted to do naked, sexy stuff together. It took a few nights, but we figured it out. Just be happy you had a few nights to figure it out. If it was my family, I'd only get 1 try per month. Edit, wow, this blew up real fast. To all those taking this seriously, it was a joke. r/sudlilabama is correct. Oh, we were super lucky lol. Those were definitely some staying up until 4 AM kind of nights, though. Both, gets naked. Huh, so. What now? You, fuck it, what to do? Huh, it either. Later. You, hold up, maybe if I insert this thing here. You can imagine the rest of the story. Edit, wow, never expected too many upvotes, thank you. Huh, well the ear didn't work. Him, come on. Think. Where do babies come from? Huh, well they stay in the tummy for 9 months. You thinking what I'm thinking? Him, belly button. Huh, belly button. Lol, it was more like mush bits together until nice things happen. I was homeschooled, raised with cattle, and fairly conservative Mormon parents who did not acknowledge sex. Having participated in several artificial insemination procedures by the age of 10, I thought for the longest time that pregnancy happened when an illiterate cowboy brought a teeny baby cow and shoved it up the arse of a mama cow, or when one got married you requested a baby and a cowboy would show up at your door to shove it on up there. Luckily, we got the internet in 1998, and I finally learned that a woman got pregnant when a man with a mustache came on her face. Edit, wow, thanks for the awards all. Now my parents will accept me. I'm glad I've kept scrolling. This is a hidden gem. Bravo. When I gave my first blowjob I didn't know what coming was or that it was a thing. Eventually I got pretty bored and stopped, so he told me, "You're supposed to go until I finish," and I remember thinking that's rude, how am I supposed to know when you're finished? He didn't, and I learned what he meant about 6 months later. Lol. A 6-month-long BJ. Now that's commitment. I've had relationships shorter than that BJ. I didn't know either until I was probably 18 or 19. I didn't understand how anyone could think pulling out was a genuine way to prevent pregnancy because I figured the guy was always releasing sperm during sex. TBF, it barely is a GU way to prevent pregnancy. You release pre-cum during sex, which does in fact contain swimmers. It's not a load though. I didn't know that I had to be wet. It was a bit awkward when I first decided to do it, but we took it nice and slow and he was very understanding until the right day came. Spoilers, geez. You mean jizz. Still better than a couple my dad once counseled. They didn't understand why they hadn't conceived after trying for a year. Turns out there was a slight language barrier. They didn't understand that sleep together was a euphemism. They were literally just lying next to each other every night. Did they both completely lack sex hormones? How could they do that and not wind up doing it? That is the dumbest thing I have ever read. My biggest fear was, what if I have to pee while I'm inside? But fears are funny like that, haven't happened a single time, yet. Opposite to my upbringing, a female friend of mine teaches her children all about sex/parts, and there is no shame at all. I heard her son ask her once in a super casual way, "Mom, what is this thing on my penis?" And I was more embarrassed than them. We all need better sex education for our own safety. Fun fact. While not impossible, it's incredibly difficult to pee with a stimulated erection, because your body closes off one tube to open up the other. Edit, come back to 69 replies to a sex comment, nice. People always say this, but I've never had that much trouble pissing with a rod on. Takes some pushing to get going, but the aim is the main problem. Saying that I should be saying all this in the past tense because I'm 28 now and not had that problem for about 3 years. We learned in biology how reproductive organs work, but they didn't mention sex. They just spoke about each individually. I learned about sex from porn. Yeah, the vast majority of that is super unrealistic though. Well, the basics aren't fake. Sure, there's probably no girls who's gonna fuck the pizza guy the moment he knocks on the door. But it's still PIV, oral, whatever. It's still there. As long as people realize that the stuff outside of the sex is fake, it's something you can still learn from. Didn't receive any proper sex ed classes at school or any talks from my parents. I just accidentally stumbled upon porn when I was really young. Like in middle school/elementary school, and as I got older. I did research on the female vagina. Mainly just studied the diagrams and learned how everything worked. So you can say I self-taught myself. My first time was still pretty bad, but it could have been much worse. Our sex ed in 5th grade and high school was mostly here's all the gross standards you can get, which answered none of my questions, lol. Like, how do you put a kid in sex ed twice, years apart, and still teach them basically nothing? Looked it up myself in medbooks a family member had, plus I finally got my own computer around that time. Too bad dial-up was slow as shit, haha. My first was also my partner's first, but he was not gentle. I'm just glad I looked it up beforehand, so it was less surprising visually, but physically it was pretty painful for me. He ended up being a real piece of shit, but hey, I was a curious 17-year-old who just wanted to know what the big deal was, lol. While you were partying, I studied the female vagina. I grew up super duper religious. My mom didn't even really explain what my period was. I went to school and they provided information like sex ed and period education, but I never really got it. From the diagrams, I never figured a penis could / would get hard. So for years I honestly thought that both people would lie on their backs and kinda jiggle their genitals together yoga style. But then I was like 14 and I found out that a penis can go from soft to hard. Like, what the fuck? Is it a solid or a liquid? Turns out if you do it right, it's both. Jiggle their genitals. I honestly thought that people would lie on their sides or backs opposite sides and kinda scissor their junk together. Because I couldn't for the life of me understand that a penis changed form. All they had in my class were these monotone videos and like medically accurate images of what our reproductive organs looked like. Never described how they worked for sex or that men were human transformers, so I was shocked to say the least the first time I saw a boner. It was like, oh, now the classes make sense,